Good evening, Americans, and welcome to the Ed Show from New York. An American woman faces racist taunts and rape threats for exercising her First Amendment rights. This is the Ed Show. Let's get to work.
I don't honestly want you to tell me that I needed a gun in order to prevent my rape.
Conservative backlash against women turns ugly. The vicious attack on Zerlina Maxwell. She joins me tonight. Paul Ryan's new plan.
You would you assume the repeal of Obamacare? Yes.
Chris Van Hollen on Republicans running out the clock. Republican economic policy is lowering life expectancy. I'll show you the shocking new study tonight.
History will be kind to my brother. Jeb
Bush thinks his big brother is getting a bad rap. The big panel takes a swing at the Bush baggage.
Now watch this drive.
A Republican congressman avoids being kicked in the head. Tiger is back on the prowl. And I'll show you how asteroids might hold the key to the meaning of life.
They haven't said much about the meaning of life so far, have they?
Good to have you with us tonight, folks. Thanks for watching. This vile, hateful language behind me was directed at a rape victim. It contains a racial slur, a threat of sexual violence, and 2 threats of death. It was not an isolated incident or message. Zerlina Maxwell received this hate for going on television and saying this.
The entire conversation is wrong. I don't want anybody to be telling women anything. I don't want men to be telling me what to wear, how to act, not to drink. And I don't honestly want you to tell me that I needed a gun in order to prevent my rape.
Okay, so those comments caused death threats and racist attacks, and here's why. Zerlina Maxwell is a writer and a Democratic strategist. She was invited on Fox News to talk about women arming themselves with guns to prevent rape. Maxwell was asked to discuss a recent column she wrote for Ebony magazine about sexual assault. She wrote, telling women they can behave in a certain way to avoid rape creates a false sense of security, and it isn't the most effective way to lower the horrible statistics. Maxwell was not promoting or opposing any gun proposals on Fox News. She was talking about shifting the burden away from the victims. Now, it was surprising when conservative websites like The Blaze ran the story with the headline, Democratic strategists, shocking claim women don't need guns for self-defense, just tell men not to rape women. Now, the coverage opened up the floodgates. There was a barrage of hateful comments to Maxwell on social media, including 4 direct threats on her life. It is very hard to understand why it would come to this, but when you look at the recent history of conservative movement in this country, you see a continual disrespect towards women. There was Senate candidate Todd Akin and his comments about legitimate rape. He was followed by yet another Senate candidate, Richard Murdoch in Indiana, and his comments about rape being something God intended. Well, after Akin and Murdoch were footnotes in political history, conservative Congressman Phil Gingrey, well, he brought it right back up. He told a Georgia newspaper Todd Akin was partly right. It got so bad Republicans had to bring in a consultant to tell lawmakers to stop talking about rape. But it's not just what the party is saying, it's what they do. Last year, women and men protested in Virginia as state lawmakers tried to pass a mandatory vaginal ultrasound bill. As people marched outside the State House, Republican lawmakers, well, they yucked it up inside.
Trans V, trans V this and trans V that, and they hate women, and we're gonna, in that bill, she killed a bill because she didn't go far enough. She's crazy.
You also had Pennsylvania Governor Tom Corbett, who said women shouldn't worry about mandatory ultrasounds because they don't have to look at them.
I don't know how you make anybody watch, okay, because you just have to close your eyes.
The Republican Party has a problem with women. It has spread like a virus through the party's politicians, through the conservative media, and through the followers who consume these messages. House Speaker John Boehner gave an interview to Roll Call saying that there's no doubt that as a party, we need to do a better job of communicating and engaging with the American people. When your message prompts death threats and racial attacks, the problem goes, I think, a heck of a lot deeper than just communication. The problem is all about policies. Get your cell phones out. I want to know what you think tonight. Tonight's question, will Republicans ever listen to women on women's issues? Text A for yes, text B for no to 67622. You can always go to our blog at ed.msnbc.com. We'll bring you the results later on in the show. I'm joined tonight by Zerlina Maxwell. She's a political analyst and contributor for thegrio.com. Also with us this evening, Katrina vanden Heuvel, editor and publisher of The Nation magazine. Great to have both of you with us tonight. Zerlina, what has happened since your appearance on television?
Well, it started with, a contentious debate, which is all the time. I go on Fox News rather frequently.
Not unusual anywhere.
Right, and so it's a contentious debate. You disagree, you stake out your positions. But I think that what's different about this is sort of the intersection between guns and rape and the underlying feeling that there's a problem of rape culture in America. I actually don't view, and that's what I was trying to say in this segment, I don't view rape culture as a partisan issue. Rape happens to Republicans as well as Democrats.
Your point is that women shouldn't have to be armed.
Right. I think that women should not have to go out and get a gun. Women should not have to not wear skirts or heels, and they should not have to do anything to prevent rape from happening to them. I think we need to be refocusing like a laser on the perpetrators of the rapes. And I think that the problem is that because we always ask women, well, what did you do to bring about the attack? A lot of women are too afraid to come forward. And that's one of the reasons I went on Hannity and in that forum, because it was the biggest platform. I've been writing about this for years. I'm also a survivor, and I took it on my shoulders. I was speaking for millions of American women that have survived rape, and I wanted to make sure that everyone knows that it's not their fault.
Okay. Point being here is that Hannity treated you respectfully in the conversation. It's what happened afterwards in the media coverage and the interpretation. Has law enforcement got involved in this? This is pretty serious stuff.
I'm exploring all of the possible options. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that can be done that I'm aware of. But, I'm a law student, and so I know a lot of lawyers.
Well, statistics from the CDC show that 1 in 5 women in America are sexually assaulted. 30% of them are assaulted by an intimate partner. Isn't this, we're at a point of trying to make change. You were just trying to change the conversation, that it's about behavior and it's not about firearms.
Yes.
They're trying to make the case, and the people who were attacking you is that, you're trying to suppress some kind of gun ownership out there.
Right, and that's not really the issue. I was trying to move away from that conversation. I think that we get stuck too often in asking what women should or could have done to prevent rape, and instead we need to educate and train men to not rape in the first place.
Katrina, this overreaction to what a woman says about gun violence in America and protection after speaking her mind, I mean, it's just amazing. I want to play a comment from Republican strategist Steve Schmidt and get your response to this.
I think in any organization where women are not at the table, where it is skewed male, in today's day and age, that's an organization that's deficient. That's an organization that's going to have problems. It's one of the problems we have structurally in the Republican Party. We don't have enough women at the table. But any company, any organization in today's day and age that doesn't give equal opportunity to women, that doesn't advance women to the table, is going to be an organization that has difficulty competing.
Which would bring some conservatives to the conclusion that there is a creation of a subculture here that women don't matter.
But good for Steve Schmidt for speaking out, because I think the Republican Party believes that it can just kind of do some rebranding. It is very male, pale, and stale. I've said that before, but it is this Republican Party, and it's shown very real contempt for women and control over their bodies, control over their lives. And what's lost in this discussion, Ed, is the fact that 70% of women are in the workforce, 60% of women in the workforce have kids under 3, and the Republican Party is opposed to virtually every policy that would lead those women to lead productive, healthy lives, whether it's paid sick leave or minimum wage or protection against discrimination of equal pay, or they were opposed to something that has been bipartisan in this country for many years, the Violence Against Women Act, leading Republicans. This suggests a party that is out of touch with the changing dynamics of a country where women, we need more reform, more progress to have women really at the table. We need to change the table.
You think these out-of-touch policies that the Republicans have lead to such over-the-top behavior in situations like this?
Listen, we came out of an election, which, by the way, the Republicans don't seem to think it matters, where we heard, and you saw some of them, people like a man running for senator in Missouri talking about rape there's a distinction between legitimate and illegitimate. Right. This culture, this political culture, fosters attacks like we've seen against Zerlina, and it's hateful and repulsive, and I wouldn't let Fox off the hook. Hannity may have been polite in the interview, but Fox is a mirror of the problems the Republican Party is facing, and you see it in the public trust, the ratings, the audience that they're losing.
But when a woman speaks up and says it's about behavior and you can teach men not to rape, you become attacked.
Right.
Well, which I think parallels a lot of the policies that they have. They attack women in their policies.
They don't have a good policy to respond. They don't have a message, so they attack.
Well, one of the underlying things here too is that it illustrates, what I was talking about, right? So I'm speaking for millions of survivors out there, and I'm saying that there is a problem of rape culture and attacks on women, and then I'm attacked. And I think it illustrates that we do have a problem. We need to talk to young men about respect, bodily autonomy. We need to talk to them about bystander intervention. There are organizations that are already doing this that I cited in the interview, Men Can Stop Rape and Men Stopping Violence. They are already doing this work. I didn't make this up. I'm not the only one saying it. I just was in the biggest forum making that point.
And so much of the root of it is the basic right of women to control their own bodies and their access to health care. And we need an empathetic and engaged government, not one in our bedrooms, and not all this transvaginal ultrasound, which governors in states where they say get the government off your back. Right. They want it on your back in these areas. So it's a really difficult picture, Ed, and I think the Republican Party has a lot of rethinking to do. And again, kudos to Steve Schmidt and a very few of them in the party who understand it's not just reboot, rebrand, and it's a fundamental problem of having too many men running the show. They need to bring in some...
Has it made you take a step back and not be as aggressive verbally? I mean, are you rethinking? Is that a hard position to take?
Well,
now?
I'm certainly taking steps to protect my emotional health, but I will not be quiet because I refuse to be bullied into silence. The whole entire point of why I went on Fox to talk about this issue that I am so passionate about is because so many women are afraid to talk about it. And that's because they are blamed and shamed into silence, and I refuse to be silent.
It's very important. This is a week where Sheryl Sandberg, now COO of Facebook, is writing a book about Lean In. Got a lot of issues with the book. But for women to be able to speak their mind and speak with security and confidence about their safety and what's on their mind is critical to this country. It's been one of the great promises of this country. And to see Republicans... To see the right wing, to be honest, the right wing media and the blogosphere try to suppress someone like Zerlina's rights to speak is a microcosm of a larger problem in this political culture.
Well, they've become a vehicle. I mean, these websites become
they're vessels.
Don't they have anybody monitoring that stuff, that they understand the decency of it all?
But the deeper problem is, where's that hate coming from? It does. I mean, it's in people's lives, but I would argue there's also a level of economic security that's fomented by the way, the NRA plays on fear. They say they want to take your guns away. No, they don't.
Well, they want you armed. That's how you're supposed to stop rape, if you arm. And I don't know, there was talk about statistics out there. If women are armed, are they less apt to get raped?
No, it's a completely ridiculous solution because it doesn't actually prevent rape. I mean, the most rapes happen when you're with someone that you trust and that you know, that you're dating, you're married to. And I've gotten a lot of conservatives that say, I don't agree with you on anything, but you're right about this. And that's why I'm so passionate and I want to keep raising my voice for all of those women.
Zerlina Maxwell, Katrina vanden Heuvel, always great to have you with us tonight. Thanks so much. Remember to answer tonight's question there at the bottom of the screen. Share your thoughts with us on Twitter at Ed Show and on Facebook. We want to know what you think. Republicans continue to run out the clock. Paul Ryan's new plan is so unrealistic, even Fox News hosts can't see right through it.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We do not give up. Expect surprises. Subscribe.